Alright, so as you saw from those time lapses, we have the walls of the Hoglin. We also did a floor. We did a 3-way duper that went all the way across. It took about a day for a single 3-way duper to get all the way across to destroy the full floor, basically. And then obviously we just did the time lapse there for the bedrock breaking all the way down to Y0. That took roughly a little bit less than 3 hours, which is pretty decent for considering how long it took us to do the over up here for the first time when we did the bedrock breaking originally. As you can see, the overhead is quite drastic compared to what it is now, because we all have a single overhead now that we use down there. Didn't want to use the recycle one that thus you had the 2 overhead just because it's such a small scale. Really no need to have this pistons recycled. It was probably about like 7 shulker boxes, so it would take longer to get those back than it does to actually make them. So we decided to just get rid of them in a sense, so make it a little bit faster for us. But now, for the Overworld side, we are going to be, as you can see, destroying this old farm that we got here, the processing chamber. We already have the Nether side destroyed and everything like that, so now it's time to actually destroy the Overworld side here, and I'm just going to light that whenever they are ready, so we can see that actually be gone and reduced to atoms there. Of course, the portals are going to stay there. That's to be expected. And there's been a little bit of water left. That's not too big of a deal. But yeah, everything is gone just like that. That would have taken probably a couple hours to mine down when you can just spam TNT and it just goes completely out the window. So yeah, we will be doing an overworld perimeter around here too. It is going to be terrible to do just because, as you can see, we have a majority of just pure ocean around us when in a swamp, so not the best things to make a perimeter in, but we will get it done because, might as well put a little bit of extra effort in making an overworld perimeter for the processing chamber, as we've done for plenty of other ones like our blaze, magma, and gas farm perimeters. We've always done that on the overworld side for that as well, so it would make sense to do it for this one too. But yeah, so we'll get back to that. We'll get back to some more grinding, whether we do the farm or the overworld side here first. We shall see. We'll be back once we have some more. Alright, so as you can see, quite a bit of progress has happened inside of this perimeter on the overworld. In the first place, we never actually even had an overworld perimeter for this farm. It was mainly, like you said it before, it was just the processing chamber on top of regular terrain and things like that, because it was made very early on in the game here. So we didn't really, obviously, put a lot of effort into the overworld side stuff for the farms at this beginning point in the game. But now, as you've seen with some other ones that we've done previously, we have mainly made a perimeter in the overworld as well. And with these nether farms specifically, we have made sort of like a castle that is themed around the mob that we are farming. So what we're doing here again is having yet another castle, but theming it around the Hoglin. Now, the Hoglin is one of the hardest palettes that you can sort of work with, just because there's not really too much that is in the game that has that sort of theme to it. And even with the blocks that I have here, it still doesn't really have a Hoglin, like a full 100% yet. Like that's a Hoglin, color scheme and things like that there. It doesn't have that. But I did try my best to try to make a palette that works with it. I mean, as you can see, we have the orange, we have a little bit of the gray and stuff like that for the top little bit on their back. And we also have the white that's in there for like the little husk they have on them as well. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that's in there. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more once we get up higher, everything like that. But the same thing we did with the gas walls, we're doing the black concrete walls. It's just very simple to do. And it obviously is the main goal of these black walls is to draw your attention right into the center here, which is where the castle and everything else takes place there. But yeah, I did a long stream yesterday where we finished the road eater and then we started working on the decoration, which is where I did the first wall and built up this machine. Again, we've used it for the gassed one as well because it was obviously one solid color. It's really easy to do. Now, yes, you're probably like, why don't you just use concrete powder and then flood it? You could do that. But I love this machine a lot better just because I don't have to worry about running 2 machines. I just run the one, and I'm good to go And I'm there. Obviously, with item shadowing, makes it a lot easier. I don't got to worry about putting up a water stream to connect all the items and things like that, which makes the overall process a lot easier. But yeah, so we're gonna get everything in here, finish this last wall here with this machine by Euler. We used it in the gas one. There will still be a link in the description down below. But that's why I wanted to use it. There are some key things to note when you are using this yourself. You cannot stop in the middle of the stream. You have to wait until it finishes a full thing and stop it before you start placing blocks for the next one, or else the thing will break. So it's very finicky. So you need to be careful when you're using this and make sure you're using it correctly, which is how I was able to stop it here after using it for a couple blocks again to then, you know, make enough clearance and stuff like that. That way I could get the video and the clip for everything like that. But yeah, overall, this floor decoration looks absolutely crazy. Of course, once this thing is done, this little center part here will be covered, so you won't see that, but still the outside, I do like this shape as we have done before. But the other one, I think the Blaze one was sort of similar to it. You see it has that same sort of, you know, circle, not circle, but like the spiral. I do believe the Magma has a sort of similar thing as well going with it, so you can see that you have the sort of spiral again like that. It just makes your eyes focus right to it. We did the same thing for Magma here. This has the black walls as well. It just forces your eyes right into the center of the perimeter, which I do like for these ones because we spend a lot of time on the castles. So, you know, it is nice to have that as well. But I'm going to go back to placing this concrete here. It takes about like roughly about an hour and a half to get all the way across up to this Y125. Which is pretty decent, so it's not too bad. It's about 20 seconds per column here. But yeah, enough rambling. I'll get out of the way, and we'll wrap this area up with the full walls, and that way we can focus our attention to the center with the castle. We'll obviously get the processing chamber and storage and everything like that once we're done. Alright, so we are working currently on the nether side decoration. You can kind of see the design I kind of went with here. This little pillar here, not my best thing I've ever done, but what I wanted to do was kind of incorporate the Hoglin colors. I did have a little bit of white there originally for, like, you know, the little tusk and things like that. However, it didn't really work all too well with the color scheme, which is why we're kind of sticking to this main orange and red and black theme. Just a sprinkle of orange and stuff like that within these little pillars here, and a little bit of gray, just to add a little bit of accent. So overall, I don't think it's all too bad. Obviously not one of my best decos I've ever done. If you notice this little pattern here, sort of looks similar to the squid. It's just a bit different in the terms of, you know, the top is going to be a little bit shorter. The full thing, obviously, this will go all the way up to the bedrock. We will have to break the full bedrock roof here, which we're going to be working on as well. But in the meantime, while we were doing that, we also glassed the whole floor, obviously, which is why we are actually running the farm right now to sort of like get like some tests for it. If I go to 30 FOV here, I just look straight down, you can see just how much faster this thing looks in terms of spawning for it being at Y0 instead of, you know, the Y6 or 7 that it was previously, because we didn't do any bedrock breaking and this and that. So this is the benefit of going down to Y0 if possible. You can do that. Obviously, bedrock breaking can be pretty, you know, difficult the first time you're doing it, which is why I didn't do it in the first place down below as well. But we also have the full roof above the farm broken. It'll look even better once we get the full roof above the whole perimeter fully done there. But yeah, this thing is absolutely crazy. Let's head back to the overworld side here. We have a bot here, and we have the, you know, floor and everything like that. I do have the dead mob rendering turned off, which is why we're able to see a lot better stuff down here. If I were to turn that back on with Tweakeroo, and you have this a big pile of, you know, flaming hoglins down there, which doesn't make my frames drop all too much. I just think it's a lot cleaner, of course, for you guys to see the drops falling down. Obviously, we can go down here too, and we can see that I did have to change my Fireheart texture After running this the first time, I did realize my frames are going down to around about less than 20 FPS, which for my PC is pretty terrible. And I found out the reason why, and that is because my old Fireheart texture here, as you can see, is a lot different than it was previously. That old texture was 1000 by 1000 pixels, so of course when you have a lot of them down here, especially during the streams where I was testing this, in a creative testing world, drop shoot itself, making sure that was working in theory. Yeah, there was probably maybe like 20 or 30, hearts down on the floor there, and my frames were dropping, and that's because the texture file for my heart that I made, that Fred, designed for us in a sense on these large scale, definitely was a lot for the game to render, as you can see there. But yeah, so this thing looks pretty cool, especially when I was running, the giant stream of Hoglins here. Definitely is quite the spectacle to look at inside of our full decoration here that we've worked on for quite some time now. And yeah, the couple main gardeners we had on this decoration here in survival was Rubik and one of our newest members, Cod. They've also been on the server, or that's also been in the streams a lot, and they actually applied to the server and we got them on here, and they've been a huge help, especially with the most recent projects, the grindy projects that definitely take a lot on you. Building this castle is not easy. I have built this myself previously in the world. It's just a retexture of the castle to kind of fit it. We did modify it a little bit, make a couple more structures on top, and of course the dome, which allows us to have the Hoglins fall in there. And obviously this is a much easier system in terms to work with, because we have the update suppressed 2x1 portal here that we are able, obviously, you can't really see it all too well because all the Hoglins come through there. But there is a 2x1 portal there, just to have it centered, in a sense, to the center of the perimeter. They obviously have nowhere to go besides either falling down or out, and we have this little area here to spread them out. That way we're not getting too much entity cramming and things like that. That way they all fall down and they're not going to die in the lava due to taking so much damage ahead of time. They all fall down here. And we have this end rod and stair alternating pattern that Dazi showed me before. We also use this in our magma cube processing chamber as well. This is a really nice way to sort of have like a similar sense as a mega hopper, but it doesn't take super long for the items to fall down, because obviously if an item in a mega hopper falls down all the way over here, it takes like 10 movements to get down to the center here. This one, no matter where they fall, they will go down within 2 movements of the stairs or the end rods, which is pretty cool. And we have the little circle pattern here with it. Makes the wiring look a little bit weird, but I wanted to have it, you could have easily done it, back and forth a lot faster like the magma cubes, but I wanted this to kind of fit the circle, which we did do, and made wiring a little bit more difficult. But with help from Illyria, we were able to get all the pistons to push over every 2 game ticks in a sense, so it is a lot smoother. So I'm going to turn the dead rendering off again. That way we can actually see what I'm talking about, because Illyria did help quite a bit with that. As you can see that they're going in sequence in a sense. They go from down, but they're all perfectly spaced 2 game ticks apart, which makes it a lot more satisfying to watch for sure. But yeah, inside the decoration here basically ties this whole area together. It keeps the theme that we have had previously, where the overworld side processing chambers for our nether farms, whether that be the blaze, the magma cube, the ghast, and all the other ones like this, we'll probably have maybe 1 or 2 more castles that we'll have to have. We shall see, with a couple more farms that we might have in the near future, to basically finalize all the nether mobs farmed within its own little theme, castle around it. My favorite so far, probably, I do kind of, this theme is kind of growing on me, but like I said before, I do think that the blaze one just looks the best. Black and yellow, you cannot go wrong with that color combination there whatsoever. Ghast overall is my best looking castle in terms of, I like the shape of that one. Blaze, the color scheme looks the best in my opinion, for that. But yeah, this one definitely is going to have a cool thing because I think the processing chamber in this one is a lot more grand than everything else, just because it's a taller castle and there's a lot more to work with inside of this area. Obviously, we have so much more empty space here that we could possibly use, but I think the centerpiece definitely ties it all together well. So yeah, we'll work on the decoration here on the other side, get that all wrapped up, and of course the bedrock brick above that. And once that's all done, we'll be back and to finalize this whole area. Alright, so a bit of time later, and we have the nether side basically almost being done. We are still in the process of, you can see, breaking the bedrock roof here. Small oversight though, when I planned out the overhead for the actual Beppo breaker over here, which does all 5 layers at a single time. What I did is I marked the center block here to clear all the way out is the very corner of the floor decoration, so at 256 by 256. However, with this decoration, it goes out quite a bit. So the main thing I'm going to do is get rid of these 2 blocks here that are left for the last layer of the overhead. And that will allow me to have these 2 spaces here. What it won't allow me to have is have all this space back here. And I'm not going to break everything all the way back to here because that's a lot of bedrock. So the top of this perimeter wall decoration is going to look a little bit weird, but it would look even weirder if I didn't have it broken in line with this stuff here. So that's what I'm going to try to fix with this here. So we're going to see what I can come up with. The decoration itself looks kind of like this, where it's topped off, but it's also 1 block too high. So some minor modification needs to be done here to make this work, but it's definitely doable, which I'm doing with this 0 overhead bedrock breaker over here by Vitamin C. So we're going to use that for the most part. It's really not needed because there's only about 20% bedrock for this bottom layer, but it's mostly just easier to just make this machine and let it go. Yes, you can make it twice per side, but I mean, it's not that big, and it's actually really satisfying to watch run. You can see right here, we're going to sit here and watch it for a couple times just because it's really nice to see this machine work, just because of all the stuff moving around at any given point in time. And the pistons get in there, get the TNT go on the slab to get the blast resistance there. That way nothing else blows up besides the 1 piston head and the slab to create your headless piston, and then retract. And if there was any bedrock, we'll wait to go over to this one right here. It'll just get disappear right underneath it there. So a lot of concepts that are being shown with this breaker here, but it's really cool to watch. So definitely is always worth using for me, especially when it's got to stretch over a full perimeter. So here we go. Get the slab on top of the bedrock now. Then we'll get the piston pushed and then retracted, and bedrock is disappearing. So this one is going to be in the Slimestone Discord if you wanted to get your hands on this one by Vitamin C. Overall, it's pretty simple to build. You got to just be careful of when you're placing stuff on top of a surface like this one right here. That way you don't update stuff. There's a couple other ones that you have to watch out for when building it, but overall, once you build it once or twice, you'll figure out where they are, and that way you won't accidentally push something forward again. But yeah, only downside is it doesn't recycle the pistons, but it's literally like, I want to say less than a shulker box of pistons for everything here, so I'm really not that worried about it. We got plenty of pistons, and the breaker itself's already recycling the pistons, since this is the V2, which is doing that. And the benefit of this one is it destroys the hopper line for you. Yes, you do lose the hoppers, but it's worth it compared to having to spend the time mining all 5 hopper lines, especially if you were doing a larger perimeter. So I got the beacons in place here to start mining it once the first layer is finished, which it looks like it's very close to being. So let's see, take a look over here. So it looks like we're about to hit the first redstone block that I have placed for the stop, which I don't think is... So this one would break right over top of this, which means, yep, the last one that I placed will be right... Actually, I'll keep this one go. So I'll keep these 2, and I'll see which one actually needs to be there. I did the math before one time about what needs to stay where for the redstone block to stop it, but it's fine. Basically, you only need the redstone block for the first one, since it has an AND gate for the Beppo breaker. So What'll happen here is this one basically would keep going indefinitely for the most part, until we run out of pistons for the most part. But since this has too much, it's never going to stop. But the second one, because it can't move forward anymore, basically what happens is this section on the bottom here gets stuck because it can't push forward. So therefore, because of the AND gate detected when the bottom part returns here, it won't move forward. But if you want to have a precaution, you can, of course, just make a redstone block there as well. But I don't think it's needed for us. So yeah, a lot of better breaking going on, but overall this allows the decoration to look a lot cleaner. And as well, it stretches up to the top, and you can blend it in with the bedrock fairly easily. Some minor modifications need to be made for me to fit this back part here if I wanted to, but yeah, almost done here, and we'll wrap this area up once this is fully done. Autocraft's archive is officially live. It is mainly a collection of all of the perimeter decorations that are on Autocraft. So if you were ever interested in picking up one of these, now would be the best time to do so. Visit the website linked down below.
Okay, so the breakers are fully done, and we have the decoration that is perfectly in line with the bedrock roof here, right up at the edge where the overhead was, so it looks pretty good, especially when you look at it from the top, because it kind of looks like it fits there. So unlike the other ones where we have the bedrock roof sort of not fully broken, this sort of new thing that I've started doing is one of my favorites because it just kind of lines up perfectly and is able to do so. And yeah, this is the old area we had to get in the perimeter from the bolt. So what I just did is just shorten the bolt all the way back to here, because there's really no point to have it extend any further, and we had to break it down for the bedrock breakers anyway. So just adapting it to work here, and then adding a side staircase because there's a bolt here, so there's nothing we got to worry about on this side at all. But yeah, overall, the walls have grown on me since making them and everything like that. The middle section could be a little bit improved, I think, if anything. But yeah, overall, this middle section has kind of grown on me since we first originally designed it. But yeah, so this area is all fully done now. Farm's going to work perfectly fine in the center. We've already done that, as you saw in the other ones. And there are portals up there for the players. We can't have it too low, otherwise these hoglins, or when we go through our portal here, yeah, it won't go to the correct place. So have our AFK spot here. Everything's all glassed, of course. So, and everything out here is far enough away that we don't need to worry about spawn proofing, which is good. Otherwise, some mobs could spawn on the sides there, but they're not able to because it's too far away. But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't really mind this little bit too much up here, because you can tell we had to go over the bedrock, the overhead here. That was an oversight by me, not breaking all the way out to here, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, it kind of looks pretty cool. It gives it a little bit of a nice touch at the top, because it kind of extends out a little bit. But yeah, everything's all done. It's good to go, and we can finally wrap this project up, the first redo project we've ever done. And now it is a lot better than it was before, especially decoration wise, and on the overworld side we have a whole full perimeter with a themed castle around it, just like the blaze and the ghast and all the magma ones that we've done before. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.